He is a community college student, a self-proclaimed as a recognized genius.
Yeah,
There's that.
we all got Mensa cards in our tweens. It's fine.
Whitaker's standing outside the imagination station being like, prolonged exposure to the radiation causes a complete dissolution of the ego. Welcome to Talking to Tomatoes, the podcast where we talk about the fundamentalist children's Christian media that we grew up with, not only for the quality, but for the pernicious propaganda behind it. My name is Eric Eberly.
And I'm Jubilee Alexander.
Today we have a whopping 4 episodes of Odyssey that we're coming at you with, because all 4 were boring.
They all sucked. There's at least 5 minutes of content in these 4 goddamn episodes.
So yeah, basically, something that we've been trying to do is where we'll each go and listen to an episode and be like, trying to decide, oh, is this something that's good? Is this worthwhile? And we've also done the last couple ones, we're finding that 2-parters tend to be better because, at a certain point, we can only complain about the stupid warm-ups and the bad sound mixing for so long. So
when
one episode
4
of Odyssey,
scenes in an entire episode.
Yeah, there's this bonfire at the beach that doesn't have any wave crashing sounds, but which happened in Monomine. But anyway, so we both listened to separate 2-parters, and neither of them were very good. So I guess we're gonna do sort of a contrasting.
Oh my God, they were so boring.
But before we get to that, what's making you happy this week, Jubilee?
It feels a little melancholy, but it's something that I like, is when a piece of art, and I am talking about podcasts, which are the only form of art under the sun. The last true form of art, which is of course podcasts. I like when a podcast ends decisively. A lot of my favorite podcasts, the hosts have like other projects that are dividing their attention that become like full time. Sometimes the podcast was a side. Several of my podcasts, it was a side project that kind of then became important, but then another podcast became like the full time job, and this is kind of an activity. And you start getting like one a month, and then you get like one every 2 months, and then it pops up on your feed, and well, you are excited for, oh my gosh, they did a new episode. This is we're almost to June, and it's the second episode they've produced all year. But one of my favorite podcasts over the last, I think, 2.5 years or so has been Knowledge Fight, which I was describing to a friend that it's a way to stay plugged into the horrors from a more absurd angle, and it's not just news and people being like, this is wrong. Did you know that fascism is wrong?
Guys, Trump did a bad thing.
Trump did a bad thing. Holy shit, no way, really? Tell me more. But the show was Knowledge Fight. They were dissecting to an insane degree almost every Alex Jones episode. I don't think they actually even got close to every episode, because he makes, they would do, honestly, they kind of do what we do here, but for a much more pernicious and up-to-date media, and dissect it all. They did this so much that they became expert witnesses in the Sandy Hook trial, where they could, I don't know if you know this, but Alex Jones is a pretty crazy person who says a lot of shit, but they had, rather than make the prosecution deal with tens of thousands of hours, they're like, no, yeah, we can tell you, I don't know the extent of which they might not even be allowed to talk about it for certain reasons, but this is how much they have deep dived into his stuff.
They were considered a professional source.
Yeah. And for a bunch of reasons, not least of which was that the Onion completed their purchase of Infowars.com. They kind of decided to call it quits, and they were like, thank you for all the support, but we're gonna go ahead and stop doing this because we think that we've done as much good. At a certain point, they were basically like, at a certain point, we are platforming this, and I think we've done as much as we're ever going to do on this. So, thanks for watching. Goodbye.
How further from grace can Alex Jones fall than to have his livelihood bought out of and have everything he's done be considered bullshit. Or like, yeah, cool, we got it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I like that they put a nice tied a nice little bow on it. How about you? What's making you happy this week?
Well, as I can't stop talking about, I run a game of Dungeons and Dragons.
I
I've
tried
been doing
so
it for
hard not to make mine about Warhammer.
yeah, and then here I come. But I have one of my players, kind of just like I want something new in my life, reached out to me and was like, "Hey, what's a good like tabletop game to like get into running?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, most of us we start by playing and then we run the game that we played because once you know the rules, running the game is a much smaller jump than learning the rules and running the game at the same time." And he goes, "No, no, no, no. I don't want to I know I don't necessarily want to run Dungeons and Dragons. What do you want to play to me?" And I was like, "Oh,
Huh.
why thank you." And so I was going around and looking at something, and I found a game that I'm super excited about, that I had like read and got. I remember I watched a review about it and got really excited about it, but then I'm sitting here going like, we've got at least a year left of my I don't want to like split my focus getting super hyped about something that isn't going to happen forever. So I'd sort of put it out of my mind. Then I brought it back up, and it's a game called Mothership. It's a very different than the sort of high fantasy heroic adventure sort of thing that I like to run. It's very deadly. Most of you die every session, and then because characters are easy to create, you just roll up some new ones. Kind of Munchkins like in that way, as I recall Munchkins being. And so yeah, I just it's just sort of a I chafe at the title of Forever DM because that feels like it's something that is like foisted on you. It's like I love running the game. I don't
Hmm.
know how much I would enjoy playing on a regular basis if I wasn't also running, because it's what I like to do and how I like to approach, and it
I was
engages
about
my
to say,
brain.
I wonder if he'd seen something about, hey, here's a nice thing you can do for your DM. Like, because a lot of DMs get stuck in the forever DM position. I know I have when I ran my stuff. So it was really nice when someone approached. I remember something being really nice when someone approached me just to be a player. I'm like, well, this is easy.
Oh, I just show up and bring snacks and beer for the dungeon master, and hey, we're good to go.
I remember switching. Were, I think, between either sessions or we couldn't get a quorum and people still wanted to play. And I did a one shot where all the players, well, it was some one page rules thing where all the players were like a witch had been like arrested or something by the local sheriff or something, and you were the witch's familiars. You had to like go rescue her, and like you have terrible skills, and like you're not very good at doing things. So you have to work together. And they'd said they wanted something deadly, and I said this is going to be cute, but it's going to be deadly. And I killed several of them, and they were not okay. I mean, they were ultimately okay, but they were like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "You're a small spider, and you fell into a bucket of bleach. You're dead. You're dissolved." They're like,
Your
"Can the
exoskeleton
squirrel
dissolves.
heal me?" Like, no, you dissolve.
There's nothing to heal. That's funny.
Heal the goop.
Well, speaking of not recovering from things, let's get into Odyssey.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. So I was listening to episodes 50 and 51, which are called Connie Part 1 and 2, 1988, late 1988. I feel like it was kind of like a season ender because it was something that they had been building to for a while. I picked these episodes because episode 51 is the first time the character of Eugene appears, a character that we have mixed feelings on. To
I don't
say
have
he had
mixed
the
feelings about Eugene. My hate is pure. It is 100%. It is absolute. It is
from the bottom
eternal.
of my heart, I hate you, Eugene. I do. Unfortunately, he has the one funny line in the thing just because it comes out of nowhere. But the thing, the sort of disappointing thing is that Eugene isn't a big part of these episodes. He's kind of the sort of back half of the B plot of this, because these are the
Hmm.
episodes in which Connie finally becomes a Christian. Connie Kendall, having we're all, almost 43 episodes in or something, and she has been resisting and just kind of doing her own thing for a while. And this is where she by the end of this, spoiler alert, she becomes a Christian. Um,
Whoa.
which I which I which I'm gonna skip ahead to something that I don't understand why they do things like this. So the gist of everything is that Connie is taking her winter vacation in California to go see her old friends. And dear God, you'd think she was going back to prison the way everyone is worried about her going back to California and seeing her old friends and her these old influences, as Whitaker says at one point.
Was California dangerous in the 80s?
I mean,
I am sure there was a bad part of LA, and I know Sacramento had a crime problem.
I guess. I mean, everywhere crime's been dropping since they unleaded the gasoline. So, uh,
That's true.
uh,
Should we
yeah,
get into the biggest question in sociology in the last 1,000 years, the random crime drop in the 90s? Should we look into that? Does that sound interesting?
that
Sound like something we can
that
figure out in
feels
a
like that's well within the scope of what we're doing here. so,
yeah.
so let's talk about something else we have no idea about. By the end, Connie sort of has this weird breakdown and decides to accept Jesus in her heart. But
Hooray.
the weirdest thing about the whole thing is they don't. That's not in the episode. Like it's like literally the
What
final
the
scene,
fuck?
and she's like, Wit, will you pray with me? Because I don't really know what to say. And he's like, oh, of course I can. Dun 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 dun. The end.
That
And
should
I'm
be the number one thing. You're evangelical. You're doing it wrong.
like, if your job is to trick people into saying these magic words that will get you into heaven, shouldn't you have the words? They'd be like, okay, make them do it real quietly in case someone's like, oh, this is too evangelical, and oh, they're starting to pray. Let's turn it off. Like I'm here for the adventure stories. But yeah, basically, it's so weird. But as Connie is traveling and being in California, she's sort of finding that her time in Odyssey has changed her. She doesn't quite fit in with her old friends as much, and one of her old friends has become like a Christian, and she meets a Christian old lady on the bus, and Wit is weird about wanting to say goodbye and give her a last dire warning about California, and stuff. And so it's like there's all of these things that are like popping up in her life. That's
If anyone
it's
tries to offer you welfare, run.
whatever you do, don't go to a public school, Connie. But yeah, so she keeps running into people, and in what I think is very funny, at first mostly a joke, and then later kind of less of a joke. She's like, "Do you know John Avery Whitaker? Did he call you? Did he send you?" And people are like, "I don't know who that is." But and so but by the end she becomes a Christian. Then the B plot revolves around Eugene coming from the community college to work with Mr. Witt, like by suggestion of his professor, because Eugene is sort of an inventor and Witt is sort of an inventor, and so it's like, yeah, definitely two inventors have never clashed before, Edison and Tesla. The B plot is kind of simple and silly. Eugene is like modernizing Wit's End. He replaces the little ding 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 bell when people show up with like a foghorn, because it's louder, and then they can be anywhere in the building and hear it, causing me to literally
That's kind of
jump
funny, actually.
when yeah, it's actually pretty funny. Where it only happens like once or twice, the first time, and then like the last time when Wit is like, "Hey, you're changing the vibe, dude. Can you put the things back?" And then it goes honk, and I'm like, "Oh God," as I'm driving. Um, but Eugene comes in and he modernizes all this stuff. Like apparently there's a railroad like that drives around Wits End, like a miniature railroad
What the?
that kids
See,
can control. And Eugene is like, surely a computer would be more efficient at scheduling the railroads. So he does all of this stuff. Yeah, in a weirdly prescient move against automation, Wit goes, okay, now get rid of all of this stuff: the automatic ice cream scooper, the self the computer program controlled trains, the I'll get rid of all of it, and let's decide what actually needs to be improved and stuff. But yeah, again, it's
Sounds
like
pretty
not a lot.
boring.
Yep, because it's like again the same conversation basically happens. Connie sits down, starts talking with someone. They end up being a Christian and go, "God's." One of the weirdest lines in it is one of her friends who was apparently like a party girl, which I was so disappointed that Connie gets invited to a party where someone's like, "We got the keys to the liquor cabinet," and I was like, "Oh, that's actually that's kind of hardcore for an
It's both
Odyssey
kind of
episode."
hardcore and embarrassing that they're like, "What's the keys to the liquor cabinet? How old are these people?"
Hey Connie, you want to do some cocaine? Like that would be a little more appropriate.
Who wants to do
But
some intravenous drugs?
let's share needles.
Sharing needles is communism.
Now, Connie, don't share needles. Not because of drugs or that, but because of communism. Needle manufacturers need your support too. But like there's like a party girl friend who's become a Christian, and she runs into it, and all this weird kind of, I just had a feeling I should come and see you, Connie, and I just had a feeling I should sit next to you on the bus, young lady, and all these people who have this weird little send off of God loves you. You should definitely feel pressured. Anyway,
No pressure, but
yeah,
also you'll burn into hell. You'll burn in hell if you don't submit to the pressure.
no
Yeah,
pressure,
it sounds
but
like
lots of
a
pressure.
boring.
Yeah, we get into some of the details, but tell me about your boring episodes.
Well, these episodes were picked because it's called The Imagination Station Part 1 and 2. They are from May 1989. They are the first time that the Imagination Station. It's one of the foundational pillars of the McMansion that is Adventures in Odyssey. The Imagination Station is the holodeck. Like, you can travel through time, you can do all these things. There's one moment in the entire episode where they do like an internal time skip, and it's where like the whole episode revolves around a kid, Digger Digwillow, which if your last name is Digwillow. I work with kids, and there are names where when I see a kid, I saw a kid whose last name rhymed with whose first name rhymed with his last name and
Can't
was
do
spelled
that.
almost exactly the same. I'm like, and so when I was trying to get information from this kid, it sounded like he was saying the thing incorrectly. And I'm like, what's your first name? And he said one. I mean, like it might as well have been Anthony Banthony. So he'd be like, Anthony. I'm like, what's your last name? Banthony. I was like, no, what's your last name? Banthony. I know, Anthony. What's your last name? That was not the kid's name. I'm not doxing a child,
Yeah. No,
but it was
I
that
figured
bad.
that.
But so this kid is Digger. This kid is Digger Digwillow. It's not even.
Sounds like a slur,
It's a bad name.
honestly.
Yeah, kind of does. But it's Digger Digwillow, and he goes, "What's in here, Hey, Mister Whitaker, this place is boring." He goes, "Well, look what I just made, the Imagination Station." And he throws him in there. And he goes back. He goes back to the Jesus coming to Jerusalem, the Hosanna. They're like, what are those? What are those leafy, branchy things? Someone goes, "Oh, you mean the palm fronds or whatever the fuck they're called, palm branch?" And it's a lot of really, really bad exposition because it's all these two episodes are is the crucifixion story. And inside of it, there's the entrance to Jerusalem, and then it jumps ahead where got every single person has to mention, "Hello, stranger with your odd clothes. Would you like to come work with me to serve bread and wine to Jesus and the disciples?" And it's like, Jesus, disciples, Passover, dinner? Shut the fuck up,
Bread,
Digger.
plates,
Like,
help me, Digger.
would I like to?
Whitaker's standing outside the Imagination Station, being like, Prolonged exposure to the radiation causes a complete dissolution of the ego. Good to know.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, and that's what the story is. There is a single interesting thing that happens where it's funny you were mentioning that they left out the important thing, which was the actual, like, salvation moment, the key important thing, which what they did do in this is they left out, they're like, oh, they're taking Jesus back there to whip him. And they're like, maybe that's all they'll do to him. And then they hear that he's going to be crucified. We don't see that. It's a lot of clunky exposition until we get to and I'm trying to remember because there were all these groups, and again, they weirdly explain what it is. They mention all these things and then kind of stop with all this exposition at the beginning when it's like, yeah, Jesus and the disciples. We like Digger doesn't know any. Apparently, he's never lived in suburban America ever before, and he's in this propaganda machine of wits end, and he has no concept of what's going on. But then they jump ahead, and it's like because Jesus gets condemned by a Jewish court, but then sent to a Roman to be executed. Because he gets condemned by the Pharisees, then he gets sent to Pontius Pilate, who then sends him to Herod. Or is it Herod, then Pontius Pilate? I just
I
listened to
forget.
it and clearly did
I
a great
forget.
job of telling you which was
I
what.
feel like Pontius Pilate's the last step of that process.
Yeah, because Herod's the king of Jerusalem, but Pontius Pilate is like the magic, like the Roman
The
magistrate. So
I,
maybe that's why it wasn't the right wife. It was this fake sounding wife because at some point the exposition assist character who's with Digger, like there's an interesting where they go like, let's go in and try to check on Jesus, and they go, oh look, there's Peter, he can help us get in, and then someone goes, oh, are you're Peter, you're one of the disciples, right? And that's when Peter denies that Jesus. And I'm like, okay, that was actually a naturalistic way because it's always just like, and Peter was there, and someone goes, "Are you a disciple?" And he goes, "No, no, never heard of that." And you're like, okay, why did that happen? Just I mean, to prove the prophecy or whatever.
I looked up really quick. Herod was the client king, like basically appointed by Rome to be like a local ruler, and Pontius Pilate was the Roman governor of the province of Judea.
Is he the one that
Judea.
actually did the Barabbas thing?
He said he presided over the trial of Jesus and ultimately ordered the crucifixion.
Okay, so yeah,
Um,
so that's why the thing is because there's a character they kind of make up, which is, or maybe it's probably a historical name, but they go his name's like Hallmark or something annoying, which of course you couldn't just give him a name that's different from all the other disciples, but Hallmark or Mark Paul or Mark John goes, hey Digger, like my mom knows Claudia. It's Pontius Pilate's wife. And they go and meet her, and she's like, guys, don't even worry. Here's what's going to happen. And explains the things we don't see, which so I did find out that Jesus like, got accused of blasphemy, so he's being whipped right now. And they're like, no, we have to stop. And she goes, calm down. Like, it's terrible. I'm sorry, but don't worry because there's this loophole we have, which is a kind of a complicated thing. And I always never really understood. I don't think I fully understood what it was that Pontius Pilate has the ability to, like, there's almost like a popular opinion. If someone gets condemned through the courts, but enough people don't like it, he gives them an option to let him go, and she's like, and he can totally fix it. So here's what he's gonna do. There's this murderer Barabbas, and then there's gonna be him, and he's gonna go, well, we've got Barabbas, this guy who murdered a bunch of people, or this annoying prophet. Who should we free? Which actually gives it weight that I've never perceived because it's always painted as such an inevitable that Jesus is going to be condemned. But it was like a way for him to be like, okay, I will follow your law, or take the recommendation of Herod and the Pharisees, and be like, yep, he's condemned to die, sentence passed. Now, would you like me? I get to free one of these guys. Who should I free? The murderer or Jesus? And they're like, yeah, give us the murderer. Which is pretty insane.
I'm sitting here, like you just said, that's a story that I know like the back of my hand, being presented as as this clever loophole, being like, they're never going to elect a guy to president who's got 34 felony convictions. Come on. Oh no, they just did. Sort of a level of thing
Yeah.
right here. So
Yeah,
yeah,
they're never like, are they gonna have me like? Because it's not even is it that bad what Jesus did, but he's like, I'm gonna free one of these guys. It could be the murderer or the annoying prophet, and they pick the murderer, and that is the entire episode. He comes up and he comes out of the imagination station. He's like, wow, that was cool, and I'm like, all right,
really,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the end of the episode. It takes them 2 episodes to get through all of that because every time Digger comes into a scene, he has to ask a million questions, and then there's clunky exposition, and then there's really bad voice acting. Jesus has a weird voice. It's really deep, and also like badly recorded, and so it's always it almost sounds like he's like watching a video or something. It's like, this is my body. Take, eat, and believe. And it's like,
Jesus, move closer to the mic, please, Jesus.
Jesus,
Dear Jesus,
turn
please.
your gain up. Dear Jesus, please turn up your gain.
The only thing in this one that really caught me off guard and made me sincerely laugh is, Eugene comes in, and maybe for those who might not be as familiar, to explain, Eugene Meltner is a character. I always thought he was older for some reason, but he is a community college student who is allegedly a smart inventor, a self-proclaimed as a recognized genius at the community college. So there's
Yeah,
that.
we all got Mensa cards in our tweens. It's fine.
He comes to work, but he has both a distinct voice and an utterly unique style of, like, it's kind of both like hyper, like, literal, and all kind of old fashioned, what we would
He's like a
call
really,
in
he
a
has a really, really elaborate vocabulary.
right. And
Like you'd
the
almost
thing
expect him to speak with an accent, like an English accent or something. Like it would feel like it would feel like more of a caricature or more of a, I guess it is a caricature even with like a nerd who uses lots of big words. But it is that, you're right. It's very old-fashioned way. I mean, like, see, what the fuck did he say in the one episode where I like went off when he was like
seasonal
seasonal
felicitations. Yeah.
felicitations or something like that? I was like, what the. Oh, because it's a song. That's why he like sings
Mm-hmm.
seasonal felicitations.
It's his catchphrase.
Can you invent a faster way to go back in time and kill yourself?
Imagination Station, turn off safety protocols and shove Eugene in it.
The Battle of the Somme, go.
Oh my god, and I totally forgot when because he walks in and he's doing it also made me go, oh, this is how you got a job in the boomers America, sort of a thing, because he walks in and he's basically like pitching himself to Mr. Whitaker and like providing references, and I'm a quick learner doing all of this, but he's doing. Tom and Wit are talking, and then Eugene walks in. So what happens is Eugene is doing his little interview thing, but Tom is sitting right there listening to it, and every time Eugene finishes a sentence, Tom is like, "What did he say?" And he's like, "Oh, is that a good thing?" And then Eugene is like, "Well, why, certainly, my good fellow," or something like that. And then Tom turns to him and goes, "Did I ask?" And I'm like, "Wow, Tom."
Whoa. Okay.
Oh, some strife at
Oh,
home after.
young bucks coming in, and Tom's getting bitchy, and he should be because Eugene replaces Tom.
Literally the last line in their first scene. And he's like, "I can get to work right away." And Wit's like, "Oh, okay, I guess you're behind the counter already." So, and he makes,
Just start
God,
working.
he says something. He says something. And it doesn't matter what it is. But Eugene goes, "Oh, was that a pun?" And Wit goes, "Oh, why? I suppose it was." And Eugene goes, "I hate puns." Like, really, like, serious and quiet or something. Which
That's awesome.
which makes sense because
I
he's
hate
again
him.
a very literal to the point of being almost Amelia Bedelia ish character. Because at the end, when Wit is asking him to undo all the changes he's made, he's like, "You've lost something in this, Eugene. Your heart." And of course, he goes, "Well, that's not how he talks." But he's, "Huh? Certainly not. My heart is right here. I could not function without my cardiovascular." My cardiopulmonary system and associated organisms.
Consciousness is almost immediately lost upon a disruption of the cardiovascular system.
Please shut down my cardiovascular system so I don't have to listen to
And you're like,
Eugene
I'll call him
talk.
out your heart right out of your fucking chest, Eugene. You fucking bitch. I'm on Tom's side.
There's not a lot to sort of say about mine because it's just like, well, okay, well, if you don't. The thing that I hated, I think, the most about my episodes was everything felt like I feel like we grew up in a very. I don't really remember like the impetus to like evangelize as necessary, and this partly it has to do with the versions of Christianity that we sort of our family kind of like moved through, where the impetus wasn't as much on us to like convert people. I was like, boy, if your friends don't have Jesus in their heart, they're going to hell. You don't want your friends to go to hell, do you? Sort of a thing. And it was more like, hey, you show them what you can, and if it happen, if God wants it to happen, it'll happen. But everyone is so worried about Connie, and in kind of a in a way that to me was condescending in a way that I was not familiar with. Again, maybe it's just decades removed from a really evangelical form of Christianity, but I don't remember like worrying as much as everyone is. Tom has to keep telling Wit that like God will take care of it if when it's going to happen. Again, it's like how much of that is them being afraid of her not being a Christian and how much is them being afraid of her like going to the anarchist kingdom of California. It's kind of hard to tell.
I mean, it is the weird thing where it's like, an evangelical podcast I was listening to, someone was like, if you actually believe that hell's that bad and hell's that terrible, all you should be doing with every breath is evangelizing. Because like, if you're that worried about, like, you shouldn't be that worried if it's you're just like, I believe this, I like it, it helps me in some dark times, and it gives me a good sense of community. You if you advertise church for its the community aspect of it, I'd be like way more on board.
And oh god, the ex party girlfriend at the end of the second episode was she had an accent that was all over the place. It's like sometimes it would just be like, "Hey, Connie," and then all of a sudden she'd be like, Jesus came into my life," and I'm like, "Whoa, where did these? What happened to your L's? They got really long all of a sudden." And she had this one line she kept saying over and over, and she said, "God's crazy about you, Connie." And I'm just like, that doesn't feel to me like the kind of language you should use around somebody who is pushing back this hard against everyone.
Yeah, God's crazy about you is weird.
It was kind of fun to watch Connie descend into paranoia as she was every time someone would show up and basically say what Wit has been saying all this time, and she's like, "Did Whitaker send you?"
You ever seen a paranoid confirmation bias? Because that's what's going on.
We've Mandela affected Whitaker into having some great network, being like, "Connie's coming out." There's also a lot of very annoying flashbacks that were going on. Because I've looked through the episode list and I chuckled at it originally because there's an episode a couple dozen back just called Karen, and I was like, haha, Karen's or something. And apparently it's about somebody like a sweet old lady getting cancer and dying, which I put together through this because there's a flashback that is just the echoiness of these flashbacks is unbelievable. And it's Connie being like, "Why did this have to happen to her?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. So we're not going to convert by example and community or stuff. We have to convert through trauma." Yeah, so I know we sometimes talk about ways to improve episodes. I kind of feel like yours is probably the one this is a little easier to do because I kind of feel like most of my complaints about my episodes were more like the technique of evangelism as opposed to oh
Mine was
this
just like the imagination station is such a cool concept. And there was even a more modern episode we listened to where it was like with they're like in a situation that they can maneuver. And I think there must be some kind of like theological vibe where you can't add characters to a Bible story and you can't change a study story, which makes it inevitably just weird to insert a character into it. It's
yeah
like you
turn
might
it
as well
into a
just watch a
video.
movie then, or but it's also that weird thing where I'm like, I don't know if I care if they did a good job because fuck them.
It also seems like the kind of thing that I mean again they didn't know, they didn't care, they didn't really have too many ideas. They just sort of wanted an excuse to like just tell a Bible story, like as is, and they're like, well, how do we do that without people going, this is a Bible story, and to switch over to something else. They turn the radio to a different channel, but be like, why don't we establish some rules for how this works? Or things. But
Or
again,
like, surely the kids at some point get to choose what their adventure is going to be that they do, because I feel like there were the random World War II bomber episode. A kid like woke up inside of the thing. He was just like, "Whoa, I'm on a B-52 bomber," and they're like, "Yeah, get to work, go start navigating." And I'm just like, how the fuck did he get in there? Like, what's going on? Like, let us know. And yeah, it's the first episode, but it's like, yeah, you might as well have just told the Bible story.
I
Anyway,
want the full experience, the full immersion. I need you to clock me on the back of my head and chuck me in the imagination station and turn it on right as I start
you
to
know
gain
how life
consciousness.
works. You just dramatically wake up places all the time in the middle of the action.
All
Okay,
right,
yeah.
we're not going to try to make any more meat out of four damn episodes of Odyssey. So go ahead and follow us on the various socials. The podcast, of course, is available on Apple and
Follow
Spotify.
us, like us. Do you like me? You like me, right?
You like Jubilee, don't you? God,
If you like at
uh,
least one of us,
I,
statistically, you have to.
we offer such different perspectives. We're so
Yeah, we have a real
uh,
crossfire situation going on here.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, leave us reviews. I am led to believe that drives things forward algorithmically. You can also
We were number one in we were number one in Bulgaria, Romania,
no no we were like number 25
Paraguay,
in Botswana or something like that. Like number 25 in
Botswana.
comedy
That's what
in
it was.
Botswana a couple
The
weeks ago.
25th
So
most popular podcast in Botswana, baby.
most popular comedy podcast. Yeah, yeah. Keep it because the more reviews you leave us, the more random emails I end up getting from like marketing firms wanting to offer their
Harry,
services to
his
promote.
bank statements. There's no good information in those.
All these numbers make me sad. Um, you can also, if you like, want the video version to like play in the background. We are on YouTube at Talking to Tomatoes, and once in a blue moon, we're on TikTok at Talking to Tomato.
Sorry.
This week, I keep forgetting to do this. I will send you the clips. You can post a
Thank
bunch
you.
of them.
Just
I
because you send
promise.
me the clips doesn't mean I'm gonna put them on TikTok.
Oh yeah, no, I know. That's why I probably stopped doing it because they stopped showing up there. You can also follow us as individuals. I am basically only on TikTok at eric.eberly.
And I'm on TikTok at Titan of Joy.
Talk to you later, tomatoes.
Woo! Hi, this is Chris. Warning, all safety protocols in the Imagination Station have been turned off. Viewer discretion advised. Rest in piss, Dr. Dobson. Oh, I almost said Wilson. Fuck! Stuck the landing. Crushed. End the call.